The sun had barely begun to rise, yet the screams from inside the small, worn-down house tore through the quiet morning like jagged glass. Mara's cries were raw, desperate, and soaked with fear as her stepfather, a towering man with a permanent scowl, yanked her across the kitchen floor by her arm. Every step echoed the cruelty of a home that should have been her sanctuary. Her mother, frail and trembling, could only watch from the corner, paralyzed by years of fear and helplessness. Outside, the wind carried the distant roar of motorcycles, a sound Mara would never forget. But she didn't know yet that today, her life was about to change forever. If you believe in kindness and second chances, hit like, comment, share, and subscribe to Soul Moment Story, because what's coming is a story of courage and hope. Mara's life had never been easy. At 13, she had learned to hide her bruises beneath long sleeves, to swallow her tears before her mother could see them, and to pretend that her home wasn't a battlefield. Her stepfather, Jared, thrived on control and intimidation, casting shadows over every corner of her childhood. School offered little reprieve, other children whispered, teachers watched but never intervened, and Mara grew accustomed to silence. But despite the darkness, she clung to fleeting sparks of hope, a smile from a kind classmate, the warmth of the sun on her face, and the rare moments when she allowed herself to dream of freedom. On that fateful morning, as Jared dragged her toward the door, threatening her with his booming voice and sharp words, Mara's heart raced like a bird trapped in a cage. She knew no one would hear her cries, or so she thought. From down the street, a group of bikers, strangers yet strangely familiar in their imposing, leather-clad solidarity, watched in stunned silence. They had been passing through the town when the screams pierced the quiet, and something inside them stirred. The leader, a rugged man named Kai, exchanged a glance with his group. Something about Mara's fear, her helplessness, demanded action. Time slowed as Jared reached the street, still gripping Mara's arm tightly. But the bikers didn't hesitate. Their engines roared to life, a thunderous chorus that made the windows rattle and heads turn. They surrounded Jared and Mara with a presence that was both terrifying and protective. Kai stepped forward, his voice calm but resolute. "Let her go." Jared sneered, underestimating the strangers, ready to continue his control, but the bikers had anticipated his defiance. In a sudden, precise maneuver, they created a blockade with their motorcycles, their sheer numbers and determination leaving him no room to act. Mara, trembling but alive with a newfound sense of hope, froze as one of the bikers, a young woman with striking green eyes named Leora, reached out gently and took her hand. For the first time in years, someone treated her like she mattered, like her pain was seen and valid. The bikers' actions that morning shocked the entire neighborhood. No one had expected a group of strangers to intervene, and yet there they were, not with weapons or threats, but with courage and unwavering solidarity. Mara's mother, overwhelmed by relief and disbelief, clutched her daughter tightly, tears streaming down her cheeks. The moment was fragile, delicate, yet powerful, the birth of a turning point in a life that had known too much darkness. Kai and Leora didn't just stop at rescuing Mara from that immediate danger. They knew the road to healing was long, winding, and uncertain. They arranged for her and her mother to stay in a safe house, where Mara could sleep without fear, eat without anxiety, and start rebuilding the shattered fragments of her childhood. Slowly, Mara learned to speak, to cry, and to trust again. Her laughter, long buried beneath layers of pain, began to return, fragile but determined. Each day, the bikers would check in, offering mentorship, support, and friendship, a reminder that the world could still hold kindness, even in the most unlikely forms. What shocked Mara most wasn't just their courage, but their insistence that she reclaim her voice. They encouraged her to speak about her experiences, to channel her pain into something transformative. Through writing and art, Mara found expression, each brushstroke and word a step toward freedom. The once timid, silent girl began to inspire others, sharing her story with compassion, bravery, and unflinching honesty. Her scars remained, but they were no longer chains. They were symbols of survival, of the resilience that burned quietly but fiercely inside her. The journey wasn't easy. Nightmares often returned, and the shadow of fear lingered at the edges of her consciousness. But Mara discovered the power of choice, the ability to define herself not by the cruelty of others but by her own courage and determination. And as she stood in front of a mirror one evening, her reflection no longer frightened her. It reminded her of every step she had survived, every hand that had reached out in solidarity, and every moment of hope she had claimed as her own. Mara's story spread quietly through the town, whispered among neighbors, teachers, and friends. It wasn't just a tale of abuse, it was a testament to the profound impact of unexpected kindness. The bikers, once strangers, had become guardians, mentors, and friends. They had shown Mara that the world could be dangerous but also breathtakingly beautiful, that love and protection could come in the most unlikely forms. Before we close, let us honor Mara's courage and the biker's bravery, a reminder that heroism often comes in quiet, unexpected ways. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that even in darkness there can be light, please engage with this video, like, comment, and share it with someone who needs to hear that hope still exists. Let Mara's journey inspire you to stand up for kindness, to extend a hand to those in need, and to never underestimate the power of courage and community. In the end, Mara walked into the morning sun not as a victim, but as a survivor. Her steps were hesitant at first, but each one carried strength, resilience, and an unshakable belief that life could be reclaimed. The roar of motorcycles faded behind her, but the lessons of that day, the lessons of bravery, compassion, and the extraordinary impact of ordinary people, remained forever etched in her heart. And for Mara, for the world, hope was no longer a distant dream, it was a promise, alive and unstoppable.